All right, so I got a request for question 21 on homework number 3. And this is kind of a tricky question because there's a lot that you can do with the question, a lot of places you can take it. So let's figure out how we're going to tackle this. So it says consider the following economy where we have output equal to 1500 or 15,000 rather, and I have that marked on the graph here on a graph that I've created. We're told that consumption at this point is equal to 11,200. Planned investment spending is equal to 2,500, as is G. And then we've got a negative $700 net export value. So net exports are negative here. Okay, so the question says, is GDP going to go up or down next period? Does this go up or down next period? And what's going to happen to the change in inventories given the information that we have? Okay, so the reason I've drawn this y equals AE line, just this graph with one line on it, is because I want to show you guys that when y is equal to 15,000, we know that if we're going to be in equilibrium, we should be aggregate expenditure should be right at this point. It should intersect y equals AE at 15,000. If that's not the case, then we're going to see adjustments in y because there is going to be a change in inventory, and that's going to lead us to this to a new equilibrium. Okay, so we're at this point y equals 15,000. We've just got to figure out how much our aggregate expenditures at y equals 15,000. Well, what is AE? We know that AE is just C plus planned investment spending plus G plus NX. So this is going to be equal to 11,200 plus 2,500 plus 2,500 minus 700, right? Because we have these negative net exports. That's what our AE value is going to be. When we add all this up, what do we end up with? We end up with 15,500. So this is telling us that our aggregate expenditure line doesn't go through this y equals AE curve at 15,000, because at 15,000, right, we've got $15,500 in spending. So that means if we want to draw an aggregate expenditure curve, or the appropriate one, that aggregate expenditure curve is going to go through that point that we just marked. Okay, so we can go ahead and label that and say here's aggregate expenditures. We know that because at 15,000 units of production, we've got 15,500 units of spending. Okay, so we have this gap here, and let's go ahead and just mark this as AE1. Okay, so we've got our AE curve at this point. We've figured this out. Now we can go ahead and say something about the change in inventory, or maybe how the GDP is going to change as a result of the fact that we're not in equilibrium. One of the ways that you can tackle this is say, I know exactly where equilibrium is going to be. It's going to be here at some y higher value. Okay, this is going to be my equilibrium 1. This is where we need to tend towards. So this equilibrium is above this 15,000 unit level of production. So ultimately, we are not producing enough, right? That's because spending, or aggregate expenditures, is greater than our output. All right, so that means that next period, firms should say, we're not producing enough. Our equilibrium is actually going to be further to the right. We're going to produce more, so we should increase our y and move us closer to this equilibrium 1 point. Okay, so we're going to expect our GDP to go up, all right, but then we can get a little more detailed and say, in that period, this first period where we have 15,000 units of output, and we've got 15,500 units of spending, what's happening to inventory? Well, another way of saying that is that firms have got to make up this 500 unit deficit, right? So there's 15,500 units of spending, there's 15,000 units of output. All right, that means that our change in inventory is going to compensate for this difference, and specifically we're going to have y minus AE be that change in inventory. 15,000 units are produced, 15,500 units are sold, that means our inventory is going to go down by 500 because that's going to make up for this deficient production. So next period, we'll see that increase in Y. We'll move towards E1, right? And then when we look at the, go back to the question, we can see just answering the, or filling in the sentence, GDP is going to increase because the unplanned change in inventories is negative 500. So hopefully that clears that up, and it gives you an example of how to take a question that's not got a ton of information. It just told us this box of information here. We can turn that into a graph, and we can say a lot of interesting things about the economy with just this information. All right, we'll see you guys next time.